I'm VJ Hamilton and welcome to the Autoimmune Reset, the place for you to learn how to thrive with autoimmune disease and feel empowered to take steps to transform your health to feel better than ever. You can start making changes today to improve your health. So with every episode, my mission is to share with you simple ways to up-level your diet and lifestyle with key learnings from my own journey reversing autoimmune disease and inspirational stories from those who have reset their autoimmune symptoms and are now thriving in life. I suffered from autoimmune disease for over 25 years and now I live symptom-free, and I wish the same for you as well. So thank you for being here and sharing this time with me. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another Friday 5 episode of the Autoimmune Reset podcast. I'm your host, VJ Hamilton. I'm a nutritionist, scientist and expert in autoimmune disease. And these shorter episodes are designed to give you some practical, realistic things that you can start thinking about immediately without overwhelm or restriction or feeling like you need to completely overhaul your life overnight. And today we're talking about something that I know so many people are struggling with right now, and that is histamine overload. And I think histamine intolerance is massively misunderstood. A lot of people are told that they simply have to avoid more and more of those high histamine foods. And whilst reducing high histamine foods temporarily can absolutely help during a flare, what I really want people to understand is that histamine issues are often a sign that the body is overall overloaded. And histamine, of course, is not the enemy. It's a normal part of the immune system. It is an immune chemical involved in digestion. It helps with immunity, circadian rhythm, and brain function. But the problem happens when the body either produces too much histamine, like mast cell activation, it releases too much histamine into the body. Your body is struggling to break it down efficiently. And that is often where these symptoms begin appearing, like headaches. You might break out in hives, having itching or itchy patches, sinus congestion, heart palpitations. Anxiety is linked to high histamine, poor sleep, dizziness, flushing, digestive symptoms. I mean, the list goes on, even feeling strangely wired after eating certain foods. So today I want to give you 5 simple ways to lower histamine load naturally in a way that feels supportive rather than restrictive. So let's get into this week's Friday 5. Number 1 is to support your nervous system. And honestly, this is one of the biggest pieces I see missed because histamine and mast cells are heavily connected to the nervous system. And many people with histamine issues are stuck in chronic fight or flight mode without realizing it. Rushing constantly, they're running on caffeine, they're overworking, they might be sleeping poorly, which to be honest could be a result of high histamine in the first place, or just feeling overstimulated all the time and being overstimulated all the time. There's so many things that we can be stimulated by these days. And the immune system interprets that as a stress. I often notice clients react more strongly to foods during periods of burnout, emotional stress, travel, or poor sleep. And sometimes they tolerate foods perfectly, for example, when they go on holiday, then they flare again when they return home. And that gives us clues. And it's not that it's all in your head. It's one of the best things you can do is to create more moments of safety for the nervous system throughout the day. And that can be just simple things like having some morning light exposure, walking outdoors as much as you can and fit that into your day, doing breath work and being conscious of your breath. That alone can help with your breathing practice and helping to calm down the nervous system. It ignites that parasympathetic arm of the nervous system. Eating meals more slowly, humming and singing can help with your vagal tone, and you can even use vagus nerve stimulation devices like I use the NeuroSim. I found that has been very helpful to help me respond to stress better and to feel calmer within my body. And if you want to find out more about that, I will put the link to that in the show notes as well. But it can also be about reducing excessive caffeine or just reducing caffeine, because some people don't detox caffeine as well as the next person. And prioritizing sleep can really help to lower that histamine burden. So if you aren't having some gentle practices or calming moments in your day, then it is worth including those, especially if you have high histamine symptoms. Number 2 is to work on your digestion. And this probably isn't going to be something that you can fix overnight, but a huge amount of histamine activity happens around the gut. And many people with histamine issues also have low stomach acid, poor enzyme production, gut permeability like leaky gut. They can have candida overgrowth, even parasites, because parasites can add to that histamine load, or bacterial overgrowth. So that's what I see commonly on the test results that I see for many of my clients when they are doing a stool test. And again, if you want to learn more about stool testing, I will put a link to that in the show notes. But certain gut bacteria can actually produce histamine themselves. So rather than only focusing on eliminating foods, I always encourage people to look at the health of the digestive system overall. And one simple thing that can help immediately is slowing down whilst eating. Because when you are chewing your food, that is the start of the digestive process. And if you don't chew your food properly, you're missing out on the enzymes that are in your saliva, but also it just means that your body isn't ready to digest the foods. And that's where I will see protein and fat in the stool, because somebody's stomach acid might be low, again, because they're not chewing their food properly, they're not eating in a rested state. And the recommendation is to chew each bite of food 30 times. So think about how much you are doing that. A meal is going to take more than 5 minutes to eat if you're really chewing your food properly. So it's really worth sitting down and eating your meal. Think about quality over quantity when it comes to food, and that comes to how you're eating the food as well. And avoid eating while stressed or distracted, because digestion works far better when the nervous system feels calm and safe. Even this simple practice can have a compound effect when it comes to your digestion and histamine load. Number 3 is to reduce the inflammatory load overall, because histamine is often part of a bigger picture. If you are sleep deprived, if you're under eating, if you're living on ultra processed foods, if you're drinking alcohol regularly, if you're overtraining or chronically stressed, then your immune system is already under pressure. So instead of thinking too much about these high histamine foods like tomatoes and avocados, which actually have a lot of health benefits, I encourage people to zoom out and ask, what else is increasing inflammation in my body right now? And one of the biggest practical things here is stabilizing blood sugar. And that can be as simple as prioritizing protein at breakfast, eating regularly. It is good to have a break between meals and not snack, and avoiding surviving on coffee until midday, which I know you can be so productive when you just have a cup of coffee in the morning and you just get on with things and you wait till lunch to eat. But the truth is that is a stress on the body. And when we're trying to lower histamine, lower stress, then eating regularly can help with that. And because blood sugar crashes can increase cortisol and adrenaline, then that's going to worsen your histamine symptoms. Number 4 is to be mindful with leftovers. And this is really important because you might be batch cooking and making food in advance to help you eat healthily. But unfortunately, when it comes to histamine, this can become a problem. And this is one of the easiest practical wins that you can do, because histamine levels increase in foods over time, particularly cooked proteins sitting in the fridge for several days. So sometimes people think they're reacting to the chicken itself, when actually they're reacting to chicken that has been stored for too long. And during histamine flare-ups, fresher foods are often better tolerated. That doesn't mean you need to fear leftovers forever, but if symptoms are particularly heightened right now, reducing aged and fermented foods temporarily can sometimes make a noticeable difference. And again, we are told that fermented foods are brilliant for our gut health, but when you are in this more reactive phase, it can make things worse. If you are batch cooking, it is best to freeze your meals and then eat the meal once it's defrosted and heat it up that way. And that means that that food won't have increase in histamines like it would if it was in the fridge. So that's just something that you can do if you are batch cooking, because it is helpful to batch cook. And number 5 is to support nutrient status, because histamine breakdown requires certain nutrients, and this is based on your genetics as well. And I love the genetic test that LifeCode does, which is all focused on histamine intolerance. It's one of the tests I run with my clients as well, especially when I suspect that histamine is an issue for them. And there are certain nutrients like vitamin C, magnesium, vitamin B6, zinc and copper, and they all play important roles in immune regulation and histamine metabolism. And often when somebody has been under chronic stress or dealing with gut issues or possibly eating a very restricted diet or living with ongoing inflammation, then nutrient levels can gradually be depleted over time. And some simple foods that can help support these pathways include things like berries, peppers, and parsley, and broccoli for vitamin C. There's pumpkin seeds, leafy greens, and even cacao. Although, if you are having histamine problems and you are lowering your histamine rich foods, and that might not be as good in the short term, but they are rich in magnesium. You've got grass-fed meat, chicken and salmon for vitamin B6, and then oysters, which I know aren't accessible to all of us, but red meat, pumpkin seeds are brilliant for zinc, and I really like the pumpkin seed spread if you are having pumpkin seeds because it's much easier to break down. And then we've got foods like organ meats, sesame seeds, mushrooms, and cashew nuts, which are high in copper. And this is why I always encourage people to think beyond symptom management alone, because often histamine intolerance is not simply about avoiding foods forever. It is about helping the body regain the resources it needs to regulate inflammation and build resilience again over time. And many people with chronic inflammation or gut dysfunction become depleted. And that's why I encourage people to think beyond symptom management alone, because often histamine intolerance is not the root issue itself. It is the body signaling that something underneath needs support. And that might be your nervous system being overwhelmed. It might be that your gut barrier is struggling. It could be that your body is under chronic inflammatory pressure for something like a virus or bacteria or a toxin that is keeping the immune system in that hypervigilant state. And maybe nutrient reserves are depleted either through your diet or because of those other issues that are happening as well. And it's this combination of multiple things rather than one isolated cause that could be at the root of your histamine intolerance. And I think that is an important reminder, because healing histamine issues is rarely about perfection. It's about lowering the total burden on the body whilst gradually increasing your resilience over time. So that is this week's Friday 5. I hope this episode gave you some practical starting points and helped make the histamine conversation feel that little bit less overwhelming. If you enjoyed the episode, I would love it if you shared it with somebody who might benefit from hearing it. And if you're dealing with burnout or just feeling overwhelmed at the moment, or just been living in a very fast-paced environment and you just feel like you need a break, then I have a free guide, my 5-day burnout reset. You can download it using the link in the show notes, and maybe in the next couple of weeks, just give yourself a 5-day reset to just feel at ease again, feel calmer again. And that is going to have a knock-on effect to other areas in your health as well. And if you would like more support with histamine intolerance, gut health, autoimmunity, or nervous system support, you can find more information about working with me in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Autoimmune Reset. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you liked it, I would hugely appreciate a review on iTunes, as it helps me understand what you like about the podcast and to help share the information with more people. I'm excited to speak to you next time. And remember, you have the power to take the reins on your health. So keep the faith and celebrate the small wins. Until next time.